Welcome to the Scientific Publications channel. Today we will tell you about the history of scientometrics. When did it emerge? How did it develop? And what awaits it in the future? Scientometrics is the science that helps track and to measure the dynamics of international scientific activity using quantitative and statistical methods. The number of scientific articles over a certain period of time, citations, impact and prestige of scientists, analysis of the importance of scientific journals, and many more. All of these are the subject of scientometrical research. It develops in parallel with the scientific world and provides researchers with powerful tools for analyzing scientific activity and fostering collaboration. But it wasn't always like this. The scientific journal played a significant role in the development of science and later scientometrics itself. Its appearance was facilitated by the development of scientific societies and newspapers in the early 17th century. It can be said that the need for systematization and tracking of scientific works arose back then. In fact, before the 17th century, there were no specific list of scientific works and journals. However, some catalogs and bibliographic works were published, which included lists of publications from various fields of knowledge. But they were limited selections. An example of such work is the Bibliotheca Universalis, published in 1639 by Justus Lipsius, but it was an arbitrary list of books that he personally recommended. It's also worth mentioning the Bibliotheca Britannica, compiled by librarian Robert Cotton. But it was also a selection of books available in the British Royal Library. The first scientific journal, the Journal des Savants, translated as the Journal of Scholars, was published on January 5, 1665 in France, but it was printed in Amsterdam. It was founded by Denis de Salo, a consultant to the Parliament of France. The edition had 20 pages and contained 10 articles and some other notes and letters. The main purpose of the journal was to provide reviews of books published in Europe and disseminate information about research in physics, chemistry, anatomy, description of useful or curious inventions, meteorological data, legal information from civil or religious courts, and various information from universities. This journal still exists today. In the same year, 3 months later, the Royal Society of London established the monthly Journal of Members' Articles. The publication was called Philosophical Transactions. Some researchers considered this publication to be the first truly scientific journal, where original scientific publications were printed, unlike the first journals that mainly featured book reviews. This journal is unique and it's still published today, despite a 7-year hiatus, and is now available electronically. It's a vivid example of the formation of scientific journal in all its historical perspective, from print to electronic. Later, specialized journals emerged, focusing on specific fields such as zoology, medicine, and many more. However, in the early days of publishing articles, there were no well-defined rules. For example, the same articles were often published in different journals, and for a long time that could also be published in monograph. Moreover, articles were often borrowed, without citing the sources where they were previously published. The lack of critical comments was also a feature of the early journals. The review of articles began to develop only in the 19th century, mainly in chemical journals. During the period, there were no quantitative scientometric indicators or system for evaluating scientific productivity. The mechanism for evaluating the weight of a scientist was unknown and could not be quantitatively described. But intuitively, everyone recognized that the contribution of individual researchers was greater than that of authors in the relevant field of science. Thus, there was a need for centralized indicators of that. With the increasing number of scientific journals worldwide, the need to systematize and measure the impact of scientific publication for the further development of the scientific community grew up. In 1927, Morris Inglis Maitlander, an American sociologist, first proposed using the number of citations as a metric for measuring the impact of scientific works. His work, The Frequency of Citations, initiated a new era in scientometrics. However, the first step in establishing scientometrics as such was made by Eugene Garfield in the 1960s. He founded the Institute for Scientific Information, which is widely used for scientometric analysis. Garfield's research led to the creation of the impact factor, which is a quantitative indicator of the significance of a publication in the scientific community and shows the citation of articles in a journal. The impact factor has been calculated since the 1960s and is published in the journal Citation report. In 1963, the first issue of the Science Citation Index was published, containing a list of scientific articles and their citations. This allowed scientists to track the citation of their works and determine their impact in the scientific world. With the development of computer technology in the 1970s, scientometrics received a new boost. The first databases, such as Science Citation Index Expanded and Social Sciences Citation Index, were created, storing and indexing scientific publications from around the world. This allowed researchers to access a wide range of scientific data and conduct a more detailed analysis of scientific activity. With the development of scientometric databases, new indicators and indexes began to emerge. Each database has tools for tracking the citation of articles published in scientific journals. Among the main ones are the Citation Index, Impact Factor, Hirsch Index, Altmetric, and others. Recently, the Hirsch Index and the Citation Index have attracted the most interest. The Hirsch Index is a quantitative characteristic of scientific productivity, based not only on the number of citations of their publications, but also on the number of those publications. It's also worth paying attention to scientific rankings, since they are the result of what scientometrics has achieved. Among the most well-known are QS World University Ranking, Academic Ranking of World Universities, the Times Higher Education World University Ranking, and National Age Index Ranking. So scientometrics is evolving, and now approaches and improvements are emerging to more accurately measure scientific impact and evaluate scientific productivity. This helps the scientific community to objectively assess research and the overall activities of scientists. As for the future of scientometrics, with the advancement of artificial intelligence and a new level of data analysis, we may be able to obtain a more detailed picture of the development of science. Perhaps a new system for measuring scientific impact will even emerge. So goodbye for now. We hope this video has helped you better understand the context of the emergence and development of scientometrics. See you in the next videos, and don't forget to hit the like button.